Hello everyone. Today we're diving into a complex and thought-provoking topic, the intersection of domestic unrest, media narratives, and international politics. When a country faces internal turmoil, how does the outside world, especially other major powers, observe, comment, and react? What do these reactions reveal about geopolitical dynamics and ideological differences? We'll focus on two pivotal cases: the 1989 Tiananmen Square Incident in Beijing and the 2019 Hong Kong protests. We'll analyze the remarks made by American officials and media during these events. Then we'll shift perspectives to examine how China views domestic unrest in the United States, particularly the recent Los Angeles protests and the Trump administration's response. As an observer, I aim to provide a multidimensional view of these events, exploring official statements, media coverage, and public sentiment to present a clearer picture. Let's review the U.S. response to events in China. In the spring of 1989, Beijing's Tiananmen Square became the epicenter of student-led protests demanding political reform, freedom of speech, and an end to corruption. The movement lasted nearly 2 months and shocked the world. Following the violent crackdown, President George H.W. Bush condemned the actions, suspending military sales and high-level exchanges with Chinese officials. The U.S. Department of State continues to mark the anniversary, urging China to account for those killed, detained, or missing. Statements from U.S. officials have consistently emphasized human rights and democratic values. American media extensively covered the protests, the government's response, and the aftermath. Iconic images, such as the Tank Man, became symbols of resistance against authoritarianism. Media narratives framed the incident as a struggle for democracy against a repressive regime. 30 years later, in 2019, Hong Kong's proposed extradition bill sparked widespread protests, with demonstrators advocating for autonomy and the preservation of the one country, two systems principle. The U.S. expressed grave concern over the unrest, with officials urging restraint and calling for political solutions. Congress passed the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act, imposing sanctions on officials deemed responsible for undermining Hong Kong's autonomy. American media portrayed the protests as a pro-democracy movement resisting Chinese interference. Coverage often highlighted clashes between protesters and police, framing demonstrators as defenders of freedom. Now let's look at the domestic unrest in the United States from the Chinese perspective. In June 2025, protests erupted in Los Angeles following federal immigration raids. The Trump administration deployed National Guard troops and Marines to restore order, sparking controversy. Chinese analysts criticized Trump's actions, describing them as a risky political gamble that jeopardized safety and stability. Some commentators warned of a potential constitutional crisis, viewing the troop deployment as evidence of Trump's despotic nature. Chinese media highlighted perceived double standards in U.S. rhetoric, contrasting American officials' support for Hong Kong protesters with their condemnation of domestic unrest. They framed Trump's actions as an attempt to consolidate power, emphasizing the challenges within the U.S. democratic system. Through these cases, we see how accusations of double standards are wielded in international discourse. Each side critiques the other's approach to human rights and governance, often reflecting deeper ideological divides. Language plays a crucial role in shaping narratives. For example, U.S. officials described Hong Kong protests as a beautiful sight, while Chinese commentators questioned whether domestic unrest in the U.S. deserved the same label. Similarly, terms like democracy fighters versus rioters influence public perception. History and current events remind us of the importance of balanced observation and critical thinking. Simplistic judgments based on one's own standards can exacerbate misunderstandings and conflicts. Balancing national security and civil liberties remains a universal challenge. Thank you for watching. I hope today's analysis has provided you with a broader perspective on these complex issues. See you next time.